In this video, I'm going to give you a simple and fun way to define core values that actually mean something to your business. So if you're writing core values for your organization, if you're writing core values for your team, your company, your business, whatever the case may be, this is a really crisp way to get them done and actually have some fun and gain some clarity in the process. I'm Scott, and on this channel, I help leaders like you accelerate your path so you hit your numbers faster, more profitably, and thrive in the process. If you're new to this channel, welcome. We put out new episodes every week to help you navigate uncertainty, growth, and accelerate. So be sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you're notified every time we put out an episode. And if you're already part of our community, if you're one of our ResultMaps customers using our software to accelerate your path, welcome. It's great to see you here. So in this episode, I'm going to dig into how to create core values for your organization, your team, core values for your company in a way that actually makes an immediate difference and is pretty simple and easy to do. So to keep this simple, we're going to start with a very simple definition of core values. Now, there's a lot of great aspirational core values out there that you see on websites: hope, integrity, trust, a better future. I mean, all those things are absolutely important, and they are values. Where they can really get fuzzy and make it hard to take action is when they don't actually inform decisions. I hope that everybody we hire in my company has integrity. I don't just hope, I mean, we make sure, but that's not really what I want to high five them about. That's just the price of entry into the organization. So I need something that helps me make decisions about how someone's doing and think about leading and managing the system. And I need something that people can understand we value in a way that I can reinforce it continually. So that's the functional need there, right? That's the substance behind why I want to have these core values. I want to guide decision-making, guide behavior, and set some standards for how we're going to go about doing some of those hardcore numbers-focused things. So to do that, what I want to do is be able to encourage specific behaviors. So that's what we're going to use as essentially our definition of core values. They're the specific behaviors we either want to encourage or discourage as a culture. And I'm going to take a page from behavioral psychology here, and we're going to go for encouraging, because saying what I don't want you to do is a great way to have you focus your attention on that. So I'm going to flip around any negatives and work to make them positive through this exercise. So the key here is core values are the behaviors we want to encourage inside of our organization, and really that's what culture is. It's a collection of behaviors. So by being intentional here, we're creating the behaviors that are important to us. So the exercise I've found most useful, that I really gravitated toward, was really inspired by a story format that everybody calls the Pixar format. And they talk about this classic format that the production company in animation and great studio Pixar uses to come up with stories. Once upon a time, there was this character, and every day he would do this thing until one day this happened. And I'll show the format. It's like a real specific format. And if you look at it, it makes total sense, right? You can basically tell any Disney story, any great story kind of fits this format. So inspired by that, we put together something that I got inspired by a book I read on Southwest Airlines where they talked about how people embodied their core values. They told this great story of a guy who drove a snowplow to get to the airport so he could help travelers get out of the airport one day when it was snowed in and nobody could get to work. And they felt like that exemplified their core values. So to start this exercise, we're going to think of someone who really embodies something we value, right? They do something, they behave in a certain way that inspires us. So to do that, think of someone you love working with, or you really admire something about how they work. They could be on your current team. They could be a current or former boss, a current and former employee, a current or former mentor. The important thing is you can remember at least one time where they did something that really inspired you or that you refer back to. It could be something as simple as the way they made sure that it was easy for other people to pick up any work they did when they handed it off for whatever the next step in the process was. It could be something like the story I told where we had an individual happen to see an email about kind of an emergency at a client site really late in the night and jumped online on his own when he did not have to really make sure that everything worked as it should and everything was fine. Stories like this are usually pretty easy to come up with, so we put them into this story format, really similar to that Pixar format. There was something happening, a crisis emerged or a situation emerged, whatever the case may be. This individual did these 3 things or these 5 things. And because of those 5 things, now we were able to get this result. So now you've made it very concrete what the situation was. And because you've done that, you can now name your core value just by giving that story a title. So we have some that are finish strong, managing time, mastering time and space, because we noticed early on that our top performers, the people that were inspiring all of us, were the ones who were they knew how to keep a schedule and take care of themselves and take care of the people around them and deliver on time. There were all these things where it was just really clear that this was one of our core values. The other thing we noticed, to give you another example, was that communication is key. The people who perform best at our company were fantastic communicators. We've got teams all over the world speaking at least half a dozen languages or more. So it's really important that we be masters of communication. These stories give you these different titles. And by thinking through your ideal teammate, your ideal employee, your ideal boss, you uncover what you value. So you can collect about half a dozen of these stories, or maybe just 3, and you can use those to fuel your core values. One bonus tip: if you're on a team and things just aren't going the way you want them to go, or there's some situation that keeps recurring that really raises your anger, your anxiety, all kinds of different emotions, you can work to isolate that behavior in your mind on paper, write it down, and take it, put it aside, build a story using this format we just used of the opposite. What do you wish would happen? Take that and make that a core value. If you do that, this actually becomes a way you can solve for a lot more problems. Now, once you have your core values, if you've got a large list, for sure if you have more than 12, I've seen companies with 12. 12 can be useful. It does get hard to remember, but there's a specific reason why some companies use that, because they're using it for their hiring, for their firing, and they're really making it clear what they value. That doesn't mean you have to go push yourself to get all 12 today. You can start with 3, you can start with half a dozen, but you want to get a sense, if you've got more, which ones are the most important, so that you're keeping that list crisp, and now you can shop it around with your team members. When you get those core values in place, the real test in my mind is, can I go high five someone when they exhibit this? Is it only going to be once in a blue moon, or do I feel like I'll be able to do this every week? You want to be able to get to high fiving those core values every week, because ultimately what you're trying to do is create a culture, and cultures don't exist on paper. And if no one is being encouraged to exhibit the behavior, and if the team or the organization isn't encouraging them, it's going to be very hard to have them mean anything. And if this is making sense for you, if this really resonates, give me a yes in the comments. Now, we have some resources for you. Some are free, and then there's some additional resources if you want some assistance setting up your core values, because I believe that core values are part of a bigger picture. They're part of your vision alongside your what, your why, and together with your core values, you can use these things to actually create your mission in a way that all of them resonate, and they're very simple, and they're very easy to get your team involved with and easy to get people to buy into. Now, core values are really important. I believe they're part of your overall vision along with your what and your why. And when you put those together with your core values, you can give them a simple rallying cry, the title of your story. That's your mission. When you tie these things together in a simple and effective way, it's easy to get your team on board, easy to get stakeholders on board. It's even easier to get your customers on board, so you can figure out your path forward and get to the destination you have in mind faster. So check out these resources we have for you. You can download a free worksheet from the comments, and we have an email list that will help you get more insights and do more in your journey to define your core values, define your vision, define all the things you need to build a cohesive, high-performing team as a leader. So let's take a look at how this story format puts itself into the core values exercise. We're going to start by looking at the background. What was happening? What's the backdrop to the story? One day I was out in a small town delivering to a really big client who happened to have a presence in that small town. And then there was a problem. So this happened. There was a problem with some of the software from one of my teammates. And that was a really big deal because it was going to really make us look bad and we would miss on what we had promised this client. Then this individual came online and we spent hours coming through things, making sure we fixed them, and really making sure that when I showed up the next morning, we were able to just crush it. And because of that, we had an incredibly successful launch. This client back at the time became one of our biggest, multi-years, great relationship. And that meant to me that this individual really cared about finishing and being there for me. Therefore, the title that I might come up with, if this was a sports movie, is something like Finishing Strong. And if I describe it, it's not just finishing strong for me as an individual, but finishing strong for my teammates, which is what this individual did. So that becomes a core value. And now you have a concrete story to tell around it. And you can build out more of a description and explain it a little bit. But because you have this story, it's very clear, it's very simple, it's very concrete. And even better, you can start high-fiving people when they do things like this. So one tip I want to give you is really to lean into the high five idea. Just encourage people. It could be as simple as a thanks. Hey, I really appreciate that. It's even better sometimes when it's unexpected. So if it's after the fact and you send someone a note or you just let them know or come back to them and say, hey, that thing you did last week, that meant a lot to me. I really appreciate the work you did. It was really good. Just let people know. It's amazing what this does for you and it's amazing what it does for your team. So there you have it, a simple and fun exercise. I'll be sure to put a link in the description so you can download a free template to use. And be sure to let us know what your favorite core values are. What are the core values for your company? Or what did you come up with through the exercise by adding them in the comments? Love seeing those. If you got value from this video, be sure to hit the like button and share it with someone you think could benefit. If you still haven't subscribed, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification icon so that you'll be notified when we put new episodes like this out every single week. And remember, the world is better when we're all at our inspired best. When you're on ResultMaps, we're going to help you bring it out faster. I'm Scott. That's this episode. I'll see you in the next episode or a strategy session, whichever comes first.